Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So in the overnight session, the buy side has continued to maintain control, and heading into the open, it is testing the 96 to 98 initial resistance zone, and this is an important short-term inflection point. So how the market responds to 96 to 98 is really going to help us establish our intraday bias. We know that the overnight bias has been bullish, but our short-term bias continues to be neutral because the market is set to open at an important area of resistance, and we have to see continued broad market strength and sustained upside momentum in order to put in a continuation move. And if we do put in a breakout and a continuation move beyond 96 to 98, then we could quite easily tag 2401 to 2403 and the all-time high at 2404.5. And if we're seeing broad market participation, the other markets participating in the move, the Nasdaq printing a new high, and the NYSE tick holding above zero, then we don't necessarily even have to stop at 2404.5. Then it could lead to the market probing to fresh all-time highs. So that means that if the market is putting in a breakout type move beyond 96 to 98, we have to be cautious on the short side at the 2401 to 2403 resistance and even the all-time high area. So we have to see how the market is approaching those areas and how the situation is developing in real time, how the other markets are performing. So for example, if Nasdaq breaks out to a fresh all-time high and the market's heading up with the Russell really catching up and the tick completely holding above zero, then there may not be much edge in even shorting 2401 to 2403. The way I see it, if sell side is really going to step in, then they have to do it at this 96 to 98 zone. And if they can't hold ES at 96 to 98 and the market puts in a breakout and continues to hold above 96 to 98, then there may not be a whole lot of edge at the resistance areas above, and the market could at that point test the all-time high and potentially even continue higher to print fresh all-time highs. On the downside, in the event of a rejection and failure at 96 to 98, we can quite easily move right back down into the 85 to 88 initial support. And even though it's a valid area of support and we could get a buy response there, we have to see how the market is approaching that zone and see whether there is still sufficient reward to risk. So if we are seeing a pretty strong rejection and failure, and we're seeing broad market weakness and some bigger downside momentum, then we have to take into consideration that the high of day may be in. And in that case, there may not be a lot of reward potential at 85, 88, even though the zone could hold, it could provide a bounce. But again, we have to see how the market approaches it and how the situation is developing in real time. A failure at 85, 88 and the 83.5 high volume node would confirm the sell side gaining control, and then the next area of important support is 75 quarter to 78 quarter, and that's still a spot where responsive buyers can be active. So for now, heading into the open, we have to understand that the overnight session has been bullish, the buyers are dominant, and as long as we continue to see bullish signs off the open and sustained upside momentum, then we'll know that that overnight theme is continuing. And if we're seeing a lot of bullishness in real time, then there may not be much edge in shorting the resistance zones above. If, on the other hand, the market opens and we are seeing a complete lack of upside momentum and a complete lack of broad market participation or even broad market weakness, then the 96 to 98 zone has potential to hold as resistance. And in that case, we could see a move down into 85 to 88 and potentially even lower. But again, that's something that we will have to assess in real time. So again, heading into the open, the buyers are more dominant and in control, but because the market is trading at an important area of resistance, we're going to continue to keep our short-term bias a bit more flexible and nimble, and we're going to leave that short-term bias as neutral for now. And then how ES responds to 96 to 98 will help us establish our real-time intraday bias. So those are the main ideas heading into the open. Let's see how the market responds to 96 to 98, and we'll take it from there.